Okay, so hello everyone, and welcome from where you're joining us today. Hola, bonjour, guten tag, ciao, ni hao, sawadee mabuhay, salamat, wherever you are in the world. Thank you for being here. But before we start, I want you to think about something. As an ex-hotelier myself, we certainly change our B2C rates regularly. When demand goes up, our rate goes up. When demand goes down, we adjust. That's just how revenue management works today. But what about your rates with your B2B partners, your travel agents, your wholesalers? When you don't need more bookings from them, we typically just apply stop sale, full stop in the guise of yielding. What if, instead of fully closing it, you could just turn it down a little? Less incentives when you don't need the booking, more when you do. Moving with real demand instead of one switch that's either on or off. If you're a hotelier who's been looking for a way to do exactly that, this session is for you. My name is Jerome de la Cruz. I'm the area director for APAC at HyperGuest, and I'll be hosting this session today. And later, I'll be joined by two sharp minds in the industry. Amit Rahav, our Chief Product and Strategy Officer, co-founder in HyperGuest, who actually built the tool we're going to walk through today, and Matthew Faull, representing the over 17,000 islands of Indonesia, SVP of IT and e-commerce at Swiss-Belhotel International, one of the largest hotel groups in Asia Pacific, and also the first mover advantage that put this product into practice. Now let's get into it. Now, the reality is we distribute as hoteliers, we distribute our discounts here and there and apply a blanket stop sale. That's a revenue loss for one main reason, because your peak season last year doesn't mean your peak season this year. And most of us, we price the room based on the books, ignoring completely the demand signal. And if we actually want to keep up, we're going to be ending up this guy, exhausted, too much manual work, adjusting discount partner by partner, even sometimes during weekends and holidays, or even at 3 a.m. We'll end up looking at this guy very tired. And that is exactly where Revenue Compass comes in. And today, we're exploring a tool designed specifically to eliminate those exact pain points. We will break down how this intelligent distribution optimization engine actually works, how it keeps us you firmly in the driver's seats, and why it might literally change how we approach your B2B wholesale pricing strategy. So that's Revenue Compass. And for the next 40 minutes, please bear with us. We have a pack of agenda waiting for you. On the next slide, you will see the full overview of what's going to happen this afternoon, morning, or evening in some parts of the world. We're going to talk about the blind spot, and also we'll have a live demo of the product and some strategic incentives that's waiting for your partners, and proof of action from our partners, case study, and also the myth versus truth later that will pick our brains to some timely, controversial, thought provoking statement where we would want you to participate in. Now, without further ado, the core of this is as B pricing, we have already mastered this, but on the B2C side, that the B2C is still yet untapped. And it creates a lot of loss of direction at once. When demand spikes, hotels keep paying out incentives they didn't actually need to secure the booking. And when the demand slows down, the same hotels under incentivize the exact partners who could have driven replacement bookings. Margin loss coming and going, and that's the blind spot. And without further ado, I'd like to invite no less Mr. Amit Rahav, the creator of this product, to learn more about what is Revenue Compass and hear exactly from him how did we come up with this product and what's waiting for our listeners today. Okay, Amit?
Thank you so much,
Hi, Amit.
Jerome. Thank you so much, Jerome. And thank you very much to all our guests today. Today, we are, as I see it, we are completing a revolution that started 4 years ago because this actually is the final step in empowering the hotels with this idea of a marketplace to distribute with great power in a B2B landscape and exploit the full opportunity that this market has to offer. So the idea that we started with 4 years ago is that wouldn't it be great if hotels can control their own destiny in the B2B landscape with nobody sitting in the middle? They can sell directly, but without all the headaches of traditional contracting and with very smart distribution strategies that can deploy very easily. And the, this really gives the power to the hotelier. I'm saying, okay, you have the joystick, you're in control of your B2B, but it's just too much work. It's just a lot of detail that I can optimize. A lot of data is available. So Compass is taking the next step and bringing you this autopilot that you can say, okay, this is my strategy, and this is how I want to leverage all this data and get those direct booking to me on the B2B landscape. Now, we are all very astute with B2C pricing. We're on top of it. We are paying a lot of money to get price comparisons, and we're using that tool of the final price to a great extent. But there's one tool we haven't been using, and we are starting to use now, and that is the agent incentive. It's an amazing distribution tool that every venue manager should have the capacity to actually leverage. So wouldn't it be great if the system actually put this tool for use for you to make sure you get the maximum amount of booking with the maximum ADR that actually fits your strategy? So that's basically where Revenue Compass comes in. And the reason we built it is basically to give the hotels not just the power to control their B2B, but also a smart system that automates their control and finds the optimum for their need. And what is it actually? It's a dynamic optimization system for the agent incentive in the B2B landscape. It works continuously for you. It is not a system that you have to tweak every day, monitor, even though there's so much data is being leveraged on your behalf. By the way, data from the B2B landscape, where we are paying a lot now for B2C data, but I think for the first time we are deploying B2B metrics data to make more money for hotels. So it's a continuous calibration process that is always looking to optimize the agent incentive. It is constantly sync every day of the year. It is looking at signals of what is my performance looking like, not just today and not just statically as a kind of one-time decision. I need to give 20% and hope for the best the entire year, but every day is different. Every day has its own signals. Every day there's a ton of data, and the system will decide how to optimize on a daily basis, 365 days. And the execution is automatic. Again, I define as a hotelier, I define the guardrails. I want to make sure the system is going to do exactly what I tell it within the commercial constraint, within the volume constraint that I give it. But I want the system to find the optimum for me. And I know I will get those B2B bookings at the ADR that is exactly what it needs to be and not a cent more than I should be paying. Because remember, when we are moving into the B2B landscape, we don't have as much understanding always of what the ecosystem is doing to our own product. This way, the system actually finds the optimum price where you start converting and does not give any more incentive than you absolutely have to in order to have a win-win transaction with a B2B partner on the other side. And it's all under total guardrail. So I don't want to give the system some freedom and to do what itself and let it go on its own. It's all under full control of what I'm allowing it to do, both commercially and in terms of the production caps that I'm putting on it.
Very interesting. But I think that's a complete narration of what Revenue Compass. But going back to the conceptualization, Amit, number one, why Revenue Compass? Why the name Revenue Compass?
So we are going into an uncharted territory. We are going to control our destiny in the B2B landscape, make sure. So how do you find your way to the optimum? This is the goal is I want to get to the optimum between ADR and production. And how do I navigate there? And it's a different answer for a different hotel. So if you are a resort or if you are an airport hotel, or if you're a city hotel, where you need to be in order to convert on B2B is different. And the strategy or what you need to go there is different. Let the system, let the data navigate you to the optimum point where you're starting to convert. So from this navigation in a new territory came the idea of a compass. And
That's right. You mentioned about navigation. And if you look at it, Amit, compass was invented back in second century BC. and first century AD. It predates watch by 1,500 years. Does this mean because rev direction is more important than knowing what the time is?
What's more important is knowing where you want to go and being able to control it.
Yeah, very nice. So if I'm a hotelier listening, so basically it gets the signal from the demand. It understands if there's a high search in a certain date and low booking, and it increase the incentivization. So the hotel can definitely put a parameter as to how much discount they can put, and the system will not allow the system to go rogue by giving too much discount because they can put some guardrails, right? So interesting. Now, let's go to the next slide. How does it really work from the back end? So how does it decide as to what type of recommendation or discount the date or a certain period needs?
So as you can see in the green circles, there are three categories of signals. We're looking at B2B searches. Basically, it's an indication of demand coming in. That is information that today the hotel is not even exposed to. If somebody is searching you in some bed bank, you have no idea about it. That data is not working for you. So now it actually is yours and is working for you. So even the fact of search, you may not be converting at all, but what people are searching, which packs, which dates, which LOS, this is now going into a very smart system that's working for you. Second is, of course, the booking performance. And of course, we want to find those discrepancies where we don't see a correlation between search traffic and booking traffic. That's an opportunity to come in. And third is what's going on in the world, what's going in the outside world. This is additional signals that are generated for 365 days of the year through various system prompts that go out and bring additional information of what's going on in your destination, what's going on in your market, and that also can affect the decision. And that results in 365 metrics of optimization recommendation. So that's basically what it does in real time while the partner is searching your hotel. So different partners will get a different optimization every day of the year, every moment that they search. This is not requiring me to do anything as a hotelier. The system is behind the scene. What am I doing as a hotelier? I'm controlling the hotelier control. So first of all, the discount rate. And there are different strategies from, and we'll talk about the different strategies from very fine-tuned optimization to actually entire commission management. Exclusion rules. So there are blackout days that I don't want to have any optimization. There are rate plans. There are rooms perhaps that I don't want to have any optimization. So definitely I can control that. And then booking caps. So no more than X bookings that should be optimized to make sure that I still have that control and I can increase those limits as the confidence and the understanding of the system progresses.
Okay, very interesting. Because so the hotelier will put the minimum and max discount when they set up the revenue compass. And second, you mentioned about exclusion, especially if they don't want to apply during peak period, they can exclude those dates. And the last part, if you can go back to the previous slide, please. And the last part is okay, the guarded, the booking caps. Can they put maximum number of rooms and can they put minimum searches on this part, Amit?
Yeah, they're going to define. We'll have a look at the product demo in a moment, but they actually can define the number of bookings that they want to receive in any time window. And we have a question from Marco here on the chat saying, will each operator get a different optimization? So in fact, the same even operator will get a different optimization in different times of the year or times of the day that they're going to search. The system is always optimizing. As you can see, this is an hourly process where we read all the signal data and we refresh the 365-day recommendation. And that is going into live shop responses from your hotel.
From the partner perspective, I mean, from the demand side, can they see that the hotel gave them a discount on a certain period?
No, this is an optimization tool for the hotel. So we
Mhm.
do have in HyperGuest a whole domain of the product of one-to-one contract, which is excellent, and that gives transparency to both sides. When on a marketplace, this is for the hotel to decide what they do, whether they do it manually or whether now they do it in autopilot mode with Compass. It's their decision. and the demand just gets at a great rate, and they get the best rate possible and starts to convert.
All right.
I think that's important point. That's I think one of the main difference between, because sometimes we say, okay, I'm connecting to X through the marketplace. What's the difference between that and a contract? In a marketplace, you control the destiny. In a contract, you negotiated, you shook hands. Now it's going to be 20% for the rest of the contract duration. Great. That's important. Great. That's where we have the whole contracting part of the solution. In the marketplace, the hotel controls their destiny. And with Compass now, they are just putting the objective to find the optimum, the sweet spot of conversion.
Okay. Excellent. Now let's see the product.
So I'm going to share my screen. And so at the end of the day, this is what we want to get to, right? We want to get to an overall view of the number of bookings that we're producing over time, and also the average optimization that was conducted. And you can see that what you will see typically is, let's say I've given a 5% maximum optimization. It will not go to the 5%. It will find the optimum and will convert there, and it will do different averages on different day of the year. And sometimes you can see this day, for example, the lowest optimization, but actually one of the highest production days. So the system is always working for you. It's always looking for the right spot according to the real-time trends in the demand ecosystem based on huge amount of B2B data. So that's the final point. That's where I'm going to get to. As a hotelier, you'll be able to filter the booking to only suit the one that have been optimized. And you have a very clear display of the Compass contribution here. Okay. You'll be able to define the ranges. So here I'm just giving it, we'll talk about different strategies. Here the strategy is the fine print optimization. So if I'm already converting on HyperGuest, but I just want to squeeze more out of it, I'm just going to give it a few percent points to optimize when it actually matters, not over there the years. So most times it will go at 0 extra optimization. But when it will see that I'm not converting, but could be maybe just 1 extra percent, and I get that booking directly, and I'm saving 10% versus getting it through, I don't know, Expedia. So that 1% is certainly worth it for me. And here I have the cap. So in this day, it's basically a cap of booking per unit of time. So it can be an hourly cap, daily cap. So in this one, in this case, I'm saying don't exceed 10 reservations per day. But again, this is absolutely up to the hotel's control. You are starting at this level, then you can raise the cap to whatever level is needed. And then I go and I can create exclusion rules like this blackout rule saying in between these stay dates, disable revenue compass. So the system knows that anybody who's trying to want to stay in this date, no optimization is going to be applied. So this can be also applied to specific partners or specific rooms or specific rate plans or and so on and so forth. I can make a rule that don't touch my non-refundable rate, so exclude some reasonable options. So all these are possible. It's basically each hotelier can craft their strategy and they can control where Compass is actually taking effect. And one important point about with the change that's coming out now, release that we're working on right now, is that also to rate increase. So in some days of the year, actually, we want Compass to get a better ADR than I gave him. So I gave Compass $100, but it can see that it can convert at 105. It will convert at 105. So I'm not going to just give him an optimization that is benefiting the partner, but also an optimization that's benefiting me. I know that the system is working for me. It will find the optimum. So the fact that I'm saying you can increase the price 5% doesn't mean it will if it's not converting. But if it is converting, it's going to go ahead and do it. So that's a small enhancement we're introducing in July. The idea is that Compass helps you find the optimum point every day of the year. As the trend of demand are changing on an hourly basis, it will respond to it. But we are talking here now about the engine incentive. So they're getting a little bit more net rate. And by the way, they can keep seeing the bar rate is not changed. So they still receive the same bar. That's the question that comes is what happens with my bar rate. So I think to understand, first of all, we will send the bar rate as arrived, let's say, from the channel manager, alongside with this optimized net rate. But also, I think one of the best cures against rate leakages is to not give too much commission. Because sometimes some of the rate leakages are not because of malicious intent, but because of too much commission that the partner adds up whatever markup they want to get. They still end up below your bar rate, but they don't even know what your bar rate is. So in this case, we also let make sure that they get what your bar rate is, and also don't give them 20% when you could be converting them at 15% below bar. And that's going to help not just put more money in the hotel's pocket, but also help the partner not violate bar rate.
We have a
So
question from Elliot Amit. The question is, will we receive a notification for recommendation of prices?
that's a great point, and we are working on the data analytic enhancement. You should expect to see in HyperGuest more robust dashboard elements, including Revenue Compass recommendation. I think what you'll be able to see there is, for example, your average Compass performance. And if you see that you've given, for example, Compass a leeway of 10% and they are on average converting at 8%, you're fine. Doesn't matter. You can give it 30%. It's not going to use it. It actually converts with an 8% extra incentive, so you're safe. But if you'll see there that it's not converting, then the recommendation is to just give it a bit of extra leeway, knowing that it will always seek to find the optimum for you. And other people are anyway selling you on the big arena where you are paying more for it anyway. So the recommendation is going to first be at that level, just looking at the performance. And down the road, later in the year, we are conducting a broader, because we are now getting through AI, a lot of signals about what happens in your market with your comp set and so on, is to create, let's say, more robust kind of product that will follow and will have recommendation 360 degrees. But that's for another day and another webinar.
Interesting. I think this is very exciting product because most of the hotel partners now that we have is they normally have a rate structure depending on the occupancy. They have different tierings, and then the challenge with that is it's only based on what's on the books only. And this actually bridge the demand signals to the potential opportunity. When the hotel partners give a discount to also add to the questions of Elliot Time. So even if they give 15%, we're not going to spend it as much. And what they can do for now, if the 15% is not working, they can start to mix and match, increase a little bit until we see some more movements and actions there. Okay. Yep.
We have a question from Marit asking how actually this arrives in the PMS. So this is arriving on top of the rate plan that you have mapped to HyperGuest. And it assumes that your channel manager allows rate override, which most of our customers do for things like promotion, sell to net conversion, and so on. So just like we would do a sell to net, a typical deployment is to get sell rate into HyperGuest and convert them sell to net. We have thousands of hotels doing that, or to put promotions in HyperGuest. So this is another type of a price adjust that's happening downstream through a rate override within the HyperGuest system. It is arriving into the PMS on the rate plan that is mapped to HyperGuest.
Okay, another question from Alvaro de Tomas. Can you mix manual and automatic setup?
So by disabling Revenue Compass, you can then kick in additional setups. Like you can say, okay, for this scenario, I don't want Revenue Compass, but for this partner, I'm going to give him a 20% net and no Compass. So you will write a rule, say, okay, the partner is X, sell to net 20% and no Compass, no problem.
To some extent, when you put a cap, after that cap, that turns it into a manual offering already, right? So, yeah, so interesting. We have so many questions. Keep them coming. We appreciate it. Okay. So, for the hotel perspective, if they want to see the breakdown, Amit, of the bookings that has been applied with Revenue Compass, can they do an elaboration of the breakdown?
Absolutely. You can look at the booking and see the impact of the Revenue Compass. Definitely in the booking, you have the option to elaborate price, and it tells you every logic that resulted in the rate that was shown. Okay, so let's say you gave me a sell rate of 100 and you have some sell to net globally of 10% and additional 5% Compass. You will see it there very nicely, what we call elaborate feature.
Excellent. Okay, so we go next to the strategic incentives.
So just a few words about how revenue managers could choose to use this. There are very different use cases that customers keep finding for us and telling us what the product does. So we look forward to hearing from you new ideas. But one example is surgical optimization. When to use it is if you already have decent production on HyperGuest. You look at my partners in HyperGuest and you see every partner is generating a dozen booking a month or more. But you just want to make sure you are optimizing the capacity. So you add just a few percent points and see the optimization in action. Second approach that we find very exciting, the hotel told us, I'm going to just put a sell rate and I'm going to tell Compass, you can work between 10 and 20%. So the entire incentive is actually given to the AI, to the automated system, not a base setting, but every chunk. That means I can, a different day of the year, have the best sell to net according to what is converting. So let's say I give it 20%, it's never going to come close to 20% if it can convert to 12%. And that varies on what the hotel is. I think this shows the variance from the old way of doing things, which is just say, okay, in the B2B, I have to give 20%. And that's a fixed decision that I do for the entire year. So this is actually make the entire commission dynamic. Another, I call it the B2B Explorer, means I have some net rate, but I'm not aware of what happens to my product in the B2B landscape. Where in reality, if I add 6 more percent point, I'm going to the zone that is actually converting and making the most money for me as a hotel. So I give it a medium side leeway. This I would do if I've been active on HyperGuest with my net rates and they are not converting satisfactorily in the first example, then me need to maybe find another, give it a leeway of maybe another 10%, and it will find for you whether you're missing 4%, 7%. What is it that you're missing in order to be at the optimum of B2B conversion? I always say I want to pay as much money as the partner needs in order to convert, but not a cent more than that. And that's what this helps you find. So these are just 3 different key use cases that we've heard from customers.
From our audience perspective, Amit, so like this, the one in the middle, incentive optimization, just for our audience reference, sell rates, and then when you say 20%, are you referring to discounts or commission that the system will automatically adjust?
It's the commission in the sense of the reduction from the sell rate to result in the net rate. So
And then the
commission,
discount
it's not a
excess.
commissionable charge to guest. It's basically the discount for the agent to reflect their margin.
Excellent. Okay. And then the B2B Explorer up to 10%. When we say 10%, this is also on the discount, right? This is just to make sure that the audience are clear because I see some are questioning about commissions or discounts. And yep, so
But
all of
I
this,
think we'll hear from Swiss-Bell. I think they were in the third category. They were already selling with net rates, but not coming close to capacity. So they gave this kind of leeway, and that found the optimum and 10x the number of bookings. So I think we can learn an example of this third category when we hear from Matt.
yep, exactly. And on that note, if we go to the next slide, just to give our audience a where are we now in terms of the data with Revenue Compass? So far, we already have over 2,000 partners that are enjoying the benefit of Revenue Compass who are being directed to the right direction by our Compass. And so far, as per the bookings, we're seeing 61% growth before joining the Revenue Compass and after. And then in terms of TTV or total transacted value, we're seeing 88%. And this is another interesting part. We're in the ADR. Whenever we think about discount, it's almost correlated to having lower rate. But contrary to that, we are seeing our partners having an uptick, an increase in ADR at 10% who have joined a Revenue Compass because the system now is deciding and spending the discount wisely rather than applying a static discount all throughout the year. And average booking value, we are highlighting a 14% uptick compared to before the Revenue Compass joining. And without further ado, okay, Matthew, sorry for having you wait there. And the star of the show, Matthew from Indonesia, 17,000 islands, right? And yeah, Matthew has been the Swiss Bell International is one of the largest hotel groups in APAC, and I would say the first mover advantage of this product. And yeah, Matthew, glad to have you on the webinar.
Glad to be here. Relatively sure that I'm missing Jerome here at the stars there. That said, I'm happy to help contribute here and share some of my thoughts and feelings about the Revenue Compass product and how we've been working with it. But yeah, 17,000 islands in Indonesia. That said, as a hotel company, we're across about 20 countries with our hotels and distribution platform. That said, 75% of them would be in Indonesia across the beautiful 17,000 islands they have here.
Lovely. We've been talking about Revenue Compass and the product and the benefit and some of the promising results that we've been seeing. And it's still very important to hear from our partners who have actually using it and still currently doing it as part of the day-to-day operation. Now, Matthew, when you joined Revenue Compass, what was the actual problem you saw and you decided to join and enroll your properties in Revenue Compass?
We'd already been users of HyperGuest for a while in advance of the Revenue Compass product. And HyperGuest was already helping us connect to the small, medium-sized channels in a more effective manner. But what we found still, though, is that to a certain extent, we're still competing with many of the other B2B distribution channels. And we're well aware that they all love playing, as much as they say they don't, they all love playing their own pricing games as well. And so Revenue Compass was helping us balance out that demand. And on top of the fact, many of the markets we deal with are highly price sensitive. So even small changes in pricing can affect the demand velocity and so forth. So what Revenue Compass gave us was the ability to distribute to the providers we wanted, but also give a little bit of flexibility within those guardrails to say, hey, you can play with these numbers here in this way to optimize the pickup velocity within our expectations. And we were quite pleased with the results that came from that.
Interesting. Especially the B2B segment, Swissbill has been one of the very active in this segment. And then in terms of dynamic discounting, dynamic offering to your partners, it's a very good environment to really see and explore where this product is leading and helping and filling the gap. But what was your expectation after you joined this? Of course, we have the hopes to see, okay, I gave you 15%, but okay, now do your magic. I want to see in this scenario the up down angle is better rather than having a straight line. But what was your expectation after you joined Revenue Compass?
Our expectation after we joined Revenue Compass for those properties was that we would see a good pickup in room nights from those channels as a result. That said, we were expecting to see a bit of a drop on the ADR at the same time, because obviously given that flexibility and the expectation that dropping the price drives demand. So on the positive side, we saw the pickup, but yeah, at the same time, we knew we were probably going to see an ADR drop. That said, what surprised us was a little bit different, that the ADR was either the same or rose in many cases slightly. So we were very pleasantly surprised by that result as well. And the system would respond appropriately to demand triggers and so forth. They're obviously tracking the market.
And in terms of your weekly or alignment with the team, does this data and insights was able to contribute to your meetings, Matthew?
Absolutely. The insights reporting, we could see how the change in pricing that Revenue Compass was delivering us. It gave us another data point for also managing the demand in our other channels and seeing what Revenue Compass was doing it, and often using some of that as supporting data for tuning the pricing for our other channels. Unlike many other chains, we've probably switched to 95% dynamic rates only for B2B. I think over 7 or 8 years ago, when many other hotels were still pushing out static rates. And so we've been great believers in utilizing our yield and product across all channels, not just the B2C ones.
And particularly, I think a big number, a substantial number of your properties are in the city where the lead time is very short. When it comes
Absolutely, yeah.
to discounting on last minute, and especially if it falls on a weekend, nobody's manning the show. If we can apply yielding as much as possible. And also now with the unstable forecasting of what's happening around us, right? All the help that we can get in terms of yielding and management, especially on B2B, Bali alone, you guys are one of the leaders there, which is a destination, very high agent partners that could be yield in terms of different dates. Now, we have a lot of hoteliers who are still wondering, is this product going to help me to reach my budget? We're now, believe it or not, we're already half of the year. We have less than 6 months for the next half of the year. So, what would you like to tell the hoteliers that's listening about the Revenue Compass, having the first-hand experience of this product?
For us, we are looking to expand it across more hotels because so far we have seen successful positive revenue growth from the hotels we've tried it on. I would say if you're on the fence, it is very much worth trying. A, because we have seen positive developments in terms of revenue, and B, the HyperGuest platform itself does let you quickly limit partners that you may think are abusing the rates you're giving them. It does give you granular control of who is getting your rates versus some of the other B2B platforms. So I would say it's a relatively safe platform, and from our experience so far, we are seeing good revenue growth out of it.
And also, I think it's fitting to have a new player that now trying to help to increase the ADR on the B2B segment because we've always been seeing that B2B will always pull down my ADR. But now, on the contrary, there's actually a way and now a product that could help us increase profitability, and at the same time when we present the numbers to the owners or the properties, there's another discussion about B2B in terms of increasing the ADR. Okay. So numbers 10 times booking, growth in bookings, 4 hours saved weekly on manual work, and definitely full control. When we talk about the save weekly on manual work, remember, you're going to have a revenue officer that's going to be adjusting your offering on an hourly basis compared to having it adjusted on a manual setup. Okay. Right. Yep. Amit, any thoughts on this?
So this touches on some of the questions that we're asking in the chat as well. So you see here that the strategy of Swiss-Belhotel was to give a 10% cap to the extra incentive. And to be clear, this is extra incentive on the net rate, not necessarily a reduction in price to the guest. And we see that HyperGuest did not need the full 10%. And we actually found it, you can see visually the optimum point here is somewhere at 6.7, 6.5. This is what was missing for the net rate in order to be competitive, but not 8 and not 9. That's where I say don't give even a cent more than you have to. So it's nice that you gave 10%, but we're not going to ask you to give 20% now because the system doesn't need extra leeway. You just need the right leeway in order to find the optimum. And you can actually see that in one day, all that was needed was an extra nudge of 1%. And the number of bookings that day, by the way, was one of the highest. But for whatever happened in the demand ecosystem in that particular day, all that was required for Swiss-Bell to get this booking directly. And again, instead of paying a very expensive bed bank as an intermediary, was 1% of optimization. So the net rate was improved, the booking regenerated. So you can see also in the first day, the system starts, it doesn't have a lot of data. Actually, the way it does, it starts conservative and it gets more aggressive until it starts to see conversion. So it started low and it needed, but the data was not rich enough. So it came to 944, a little bit closer to the maximum. But as the amount of data came richer and richer, we found the optimum, and we can very visually understand that the net rate that we had static through old school way of thinking, oh, let me try sell minus 15 and see what happens, or sell minus 10. You can see that actually, okay, for this particular set of inventory, we were 6.5% off from being exactly on the competitive point. And still there's benefit in daily optimization. And it's not daily, it's in fact hourly optimization and search by search optimization. So that's, I think, very confidence giving that I can give the system a leeway. It's going to work for me. It's going to find the best extra incentive for the commission that is needed in order to convert, and not a cent more than that.
We have a phone-in question for Matthew. So, hello, Matthew. This is from Irene Villafranca. Thank you very much for your valuable insights. As a hotelier using Compass, were you able to renegotiate contracted commission levels with partners during the certain period of the year?
In all honesty, for the numbers we run through HyperGuest, we have an extremely narrow commission band and we try not to be unfair to anyone. We believe more in managing the demand and so forth through the rate pricing rather than variability in the incentives for the sellers and merchants, so to speak. So yes, we have not really been doing any renegotiation. We just work closely and watch the demand to make sure our pricing is effective and correct.
Yeah. So it's selling at the right time for all as fair as possible, right? Now, we have another question from Nadia Purkayasta. Are the main dashboard that will show me that all of the bookings made last month, 20% bookings got additional discount, for example? I think this is where you mentioned about elaborate, Amit, no?
Correct. But also, I think that Nadia would like to get kind of overall picture and the reporting showing what percent of all total booking, because this report, for example, what we're seeing on the screen is just the Compass optimized booking. But another question is how many actually needed any incentive? Maybe either they didn't have Compass at all, or Compass was at zero, or maybe Compass increased the price. So you will be receiving such reporting from your account manager. And in addition, we will be adding to the back office dashboard a special segment dedicated to Compass statistics as well. Until you see it in the back office, you will be able to get it from your account manager.
All right. Yep. We're almost nearing to the end of our webinar. So definitely this is a very interesting product. And Amit, Matthew, thank you for the valuable insight. Now, I'd like to invite you to a very interesting section of our webinar, which is we call myth versus truth. So we've been talking about revenue management and how we can better sell our rooms at the right time and at the right price. And there are ongoing elephant in the room that typically they're still ongoing in a lot of conferences and boardroom discussion. And this time, I'd like to invite all our audience to participate. We are going to flash a statement on the screen, and we want to know your thoughts. You can type M if you think it's a myth, not true, or it's a something that a product of an imagination, or truth if you think this is something that's really resonate with you and you think this is a true statement. And for Amit and Matthew, if you say myth, you can just do a thumbs up and sorry, thumbs down. And if you believe that it's true, you can do a thumbs up. Okay? Are we ready? Okay, let's start. Our first statement. Okay. Matthew you just mentioned this. Giving all your B2B partners the same commission rate is the fairest and most efficient approach. We've been talking about parity for the last 2 decades, and a lot of hotel groups have been trying to do dynamic, all properties dynamic. Some are trying to still doing a key account approach wherein they maintain certain accounts to have B2B rates or special commission. So do you believe this is true? Giving all your B2B partners the same commission rate is the fairest and most efficient approach. Okay, your votes? 3, 2, 1. True. Okay. So I think we have an overflowing of truth also in the chat. Okay. Hi, Rico. Rico's saying it's a myth, right? Only we could have a different separate chat with Rico. So just one quick comment. Why do you think this is the truth? Maybe Amit?
I think that the partners are business partners and succeed. We also, it's our philosophy. We make money when our partners make money. And I think hotels look at it similarly. And if you are choosing to give a Compass optimization, you're giving it democratically to all your partners. It's not a preference, but it's actually something you apply on an ecosystem. As well, we have a lot of folks who are using us for the contracting facility for this one-to-one connection. It's about, in our business, it's about 50% of our booking. And that's because our customers respect those relationships that have been built over the years. And I think if you start to be selective as a hotelier, it's just going to spoil that. We have to remember what you gave each one and try to field the complaints about unfair treatment. So why not just give them these type of incentives that are given to all the partners in the ecosystem, but also make sure that you are optimizing and getting the most of it.
Where our hotel partners can utilize HyperGuest to standardize the commission, right? And Matthew, I think you have a very rich experience on this. This is your breakfast, lunch, and dinner with partners. Do you think it's a truth or myth?
I think as an objective, it's the truth. I think in reality, it is not 100%, well, nothing is ever 100% achievable, but it's not 100% achievable. Certain partners do have access to more exclusive demand paths and so forth. And sometimes you do have to vary things a little bit to access that in the right way. That said, I do believe that the ultimate objective is and best path is giving the same commission to everyone. Because as we all know, everyone is selling to each other these days anyways. It's having the same commission is a good objective. It's just not always possible.
Excellent. Okay, let's go to the next one. Okay, a dynamic pricing engine for guests is more valuable than the one for B2B partner. So I think this is one of the pain points that this product is solving. And in reality, all the revenue management system that we know are applying and understanding, normalizing the data and maximizing the best rate in front of the customer. But in terms of B2B, we have very few products. Now we have Revenue Compass. So what's your thought? Guys, please put in your comment. Do you think this is truth or a myth? Oh, we have truth. So Idelsa said it's truth. Capital T. Hesham said truth. This is truth. Oh, okay. Graciela said no, it's a myth. Oh, wow. We're having more myth this time. We couldn't agree more. That's why we have Revenue Compass, right?
I think it's a tricky question from you. I think you did a trick there on us. I know you did, but it's another arrow in the quiver for the revenue manager. So it's not either this or that. It's not one necessarily better than the other. It's just another opportunity that opens up.
That's true. Okay. So, yep. So we go to the next one. Okay. I think this is an ongoing debate now. Automation versus augmentation. AI should never make the final pricing decision without a human approving it first. One time I was attending a conference, an AI conference, and then I posed a question to the audience. I asked them, what is AI to you? And put in the comment, what's AI to you? A lot of them said it's a friend, it's a tool. Some they say it's an enemy. It will steal my job. And some they even say it's a boyfriend. So this is a good tension. And do we know AI is making the final decision correct? So AI should never make a final decision without human. True? Okay, true. Do you think so? Okay. So how about Amit and then Matthew? What's your take on this? Is it a true or a myth? Truth?
Thought that a myth, but I'm more curious to what Matthew says.
Matthew, why myth?
I have no problem with AI making pricing decisions within the guardrails we provide. And the guardrails are obviously set by the revenue manager or the head of commercial for the hotel. And I think that's the way things are going to change moving forward. Obviously, without the guardrails, that's a bad idea. But with the appropriate guardrails in place, I don't see a huge issue. Those guardrails can be quite narrow. So
I see Amit is smiling. Amit is saying we designed Revenue Compass perfectly because there's a guardrail and then we hit the spot there. Yeah, I agree. Because AI up to today is they still hallucinate, as they say, right? So the proper guardrails must be in place before having it take the driver's seat. Amit, what's your thought?
It's risky to bet against AI these days because we look at where we were 6 months ago and imagine where we'll be 2 years from now. It's very risky, but it's all about guardrails. I totally agree.
And transparency, right? So next, okay. A booking made through a B2B partner at a lower margin is still better than an empty room. Okay, so we have different school of thoughts here. Some revenue management classes, they will teach you that we should not let the room be spoiled. If you sell it at the wrong price, you're going to spend with your housekeeping. It will make your room older. But some are saying it's a perishable good. You have to sell it, even at a lower margin. So is it a myth or a truth? So we have Sayed say truth, Esham, Paul, Hassam said no, it's a myth. Okay, so Amit and Matthew, what's your take on this? Myth or truth?
I don't think there's enough information in the question because you shouldn't be selling the room at a value which is lower than the cost of servicing or the variable costs associated with the room. That said, I think people can probably still play with numbers more than they should. But that said, if your overall demand and occupancy is over 80%, it's probably better to keep your pricing high and work
Higher.
to try and keep the pricing high for the destination. Because there have been cases in the past which have seen an overall location pricing slide down because everyone decided to sell a little bit too much at lower prices.
Makes sense. Because I think there are some disciplines where they're saying that, okay, let's just talk when we reach 40%. There are those revenue manager or hotels who are doing, okay, we have nothing to manage if we don't reach 40% or even 50%, right? Something like that. So you're saying, Matthew, is it the truth or a myth? Or
Doesn't matter either way. Every location is so different in the customer type, whether it's ancillary revenue associated with MICE, ancillary revenue associated with a leisure destination, or just a person that needs a bed to sleep for the night. It just changes too much depending on the hotel.
Again, it's one of your trick questions because it's not either or. And there is this perception that B2B is expensive, is the most expensive channel. If you look at HyperGuest, at my partners, these partners are searching your hotel, they are booking you. If they're not booking you on HyperGuest, they're going through a very expensive Expedia or something like that. You are paying however that contract says. So Compass will find you the optimum. And we've seen even from our early case studies, always reported that B2B becomes one of the top 8. I remember the case study, second highest ADR after the direct website for B2B, which is exactly the opposite of what you would expect in the B2B. I have so many intermediaries to feed along the way to partner with me on that ADR. So yeah, it's not necessarily
good.
either or.
Yep, perfect. That makes sense. Okay, we go to the last statement. I think this is going to be a very controversial one. AI will make revenue managers obsolete within the next 5 years. With the proliferation of all these AI agents, that a lot of new products now are coming. That's now, especially the agentic era, wherein they can now decide for the hotel rather than asking or giving them a task, right? So, do you think revenue managers will have a problem in the next 5 years? Let's cast your votes. Okay, so we see myth. Oh, Isham says it's truth. Okay, Amit and Matthew, three, two, one. Your votes? Matthew, what's your thoughts?
I think will allow revenue managers to do more and perhaps handle more properties. But from my perspective, a revenue manager is not just a pricing optimization person, but he is looking at all segments of the hotel. He is looking at the B2C online channels saying, how can they sell better? How do I change the product mix or the incentives or the product design? He's doing the same thing with the MICE teams. He's saying, hey, you said your budget was this and you're not hitting it. Why not? Do we need to shift marketing budget to these other channels rather than these ones? A revenue manager should be the right-hand man of the head of commercial in the hotel, not just a price optimization specialist. They should be helping you ask and answer questions as to why these segments aren't selling within their budgets and working constructively to grow those segments, not just changing the price.
Anik Salaun says, love this Machu. All right. How about Amit? Let's hear from a technical perspective.
I think we are now at the maximum of the hype about job disappearing. I think we'll be looking back and say, I remember in 2026, we were thinking that there will be no more work and everybody was just going to get money to sit at the beach. But so now we're at the maximum of the hype. We are seeing that maybe taxi drivers are not going to go there, but you have to stay on top of tools. And it's fun, the capabilities, the research, what cool things other people are doing. I think stay on top of the curve, always keep yourself tinkering with these capabilities. That's probably everyone who's professional, especially someone dealing with so much data and a commercial impact as a revenue manager. I don't think that there is cause for panic, but there is cause for education.
Makes sense. Okay, so we reached the end of our webinar. Gentlemen, thank you for your sharp thoughts and your inputs. And then, Meet, thanks for taking us to a very exciting product. And to our audience, those questions that were not answered, we will reach out to you separately, try to answer one by one. And thank you for joining us in this wonderful webinar session about Revenue Compass. Again, direction is more important than knowing what the time is. That's why Compass was first invented. And that's it, folks. I'm flashing here a QR code for those who are interested to know more about Revenue Compass. Please scan this QR code, and our team will be in touch to discuss this in length individually. This is a product that's very new in the market, a trailblazer, I would say. And our aim for Revenue Compass is to help spend your discounts wisely, commissions wisely. And this is a revolutionary product. And by the way, Amit, what's the cost for the hotels joining this?
It's free,
It's free.
but
So that's
but you push Jerome, he'll give you an extra discount. But it's the starting position is free.
so don't miss out. This is a new product and make sure you stay ahead in the competition in your respective market. Once again, I'm Jerome de la Cruz. Thank you for joining us. Matthew, Amit, thank you. Enjoy the rest of the day. And yeah, have a hyper rest of the day. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks.